Welcome to Board to History, where the past isn't just dusty dates and dull lectures. It's gritty, weird, and just boring enough to help you drift off. From gold rushes to revolutions, we bring you immersive, sarcastic, and strangely relaxing stories of history's wildest moments. Lay back, close your eyes, and let us lull you into dreams with the kind of history they never taught in school, but probably should have. You wake up in 1849 with the kind of hangover you didn't actually earn. The world outside your tent, or let's be honest, the moldy tarp you've been calling a tent, sounds like someone's throwing a street party, but without the music or joy. It's just shouting, horse hooves, and the wet squelch of boots in mud that might also be sewage. You crawl out into the morning light and, yep, welcome to San Francisco during the gold rush, a place that feels less like a city and more like an unregulated festival that has been going on for years. The air smells like a violent mix of salt water, fish guts, wood smoke, and unwashed human ambition. You take one step and immediately regret not wearing thicker boots, because your foot sinks ankle-deep into a puddle that is definitely not just rainwater. The streets, or the spaces where people agree to walk without stabbing each other, are swarming. Men from every corner of the earth push past, yelling in different languages, all of them saying some version of gold in tones that range from hopeful to fully deranged. You've got scrappy kids carrying pickaxes twice their size, merchants hawking shovels for the price of a small farm back east, and sailors unloading crates of God knows what from ships that will probably be abandoned at the dock the second their crew hears about the latest gold strike. You're immediately hit with the realization that no one here is calm. Everyone's vibrating on a mix of greed, caffeine, and terrible whiskey. The guy next to you is selling guaranteed gold maps that look like a toddler's doodle. Some poor soul is stumbling by with a pan full of glittering gold dust. Or maybe it's just sand with fool-s gold mixed in. You'd be amazed how many people here can convince themselves dirt is treasure if it catches the light just right. You dodge a cart carrying barrels of who knows what, and in doing so you nearly collide with a preacher loudly telling anyone who will listen that gold is a test from God. He is standing next to a man who is offering to sell you a lucky charm, made from what is clearly a chicken bone. Across the street, a saloon is already open, its swinging doors coughing out waves of stale beer stink and drunken laughter, even though the sun's barely up. Everything feels temporary here, like the buildings are held together with hope and bad nails. Wooden shacks lean dangerously in the wind, tents flap in the salty breeze, and half-built storefronts are already taking customers. The whole town's a mashup of desperation and wild opportunity. Every person you see has the same thought in their eyes. If I can just get lucky once, I'll never work another day in my life. Which is hilarious because most of them will leave here broke, sick, or missing a few teeth. Somewhere, a man is shouting about the richest vein in history, and 50 people drop what they're doing and start running toward him. You're not sure if you should follow or just find somewhere to sit and not die. Either way, this is your new reality. Chaos, mud, greed, and the faint glittering promise of gold. Your day starts before the sun even thinks about dragging itself over the mountains. The air is sharp and cold enough to make your lungs sting, and your first conscious thought is that you wish you stayed in bed, if you actually had one. Instead, you're curled up in a damp blanket inside a drafty tent, and the sound of men clattering around outside means it's time to get to work. There's no snooze button in the gold rush, unless you count the guy snoring so loud in the next tent over that he'd us probably scared off wildlife. You force yourself up, pull on the same damp, dirt-caked clothes you wore yesterday, and trudge toward the river. This is your office. It's freezing. It smells like fish that died weeks ago, and your job is to stand in it for hours, bent over a battered metal pan, swirling mud and rocks until your back feels like it's been hit by a wagon. The work is hypnotic in the worst way. Scrape, swirl, dump, repeat. You keep waiting for the magic moment when a glittering nugget appears, but most of the time, it's just more dirt. The rare specks of gold you find are so small, they make you question whether this is a job or a cruel prank. Your hands are raw and cracked from the icy water. Your nails are permanently black from mud, and your fingertips are so numb that you could probably chop one off and not notice until lunch. Speaking of lunch, it's usually beans. Sometimes with bread if you're lucky, but usually just beans. Breakfast? Also beans. Dinner? Surprise, it's beans again. You've started to dream about fresh fruit the way other people dream about winning the lottery. There's no real privacy here. When you crouch by the bank to relieve yourself, you pretend not to notice the guy 30 feet away doing the exact same thing. Everyone smells terrible, so much so that you've started grating odors like wine. Ah, notes of wet wool, hints of rotting fish, and a lingering barnyard finish. Bathing isn't really an option, unless you count falling face first into the river, which, given the temperature, is a bad idea if you value your heartbeat. Then there's the constant grinding worry that while you're knee-deep in mud, someone is sneaking up behind you to steal whatever gold you've managed to scrape together. You try to keep it hidden, stuffing it into a pouch or burying it in the dirt. But out here, secrets don't stay secrets long. Everyone's desperate, everyone's broke, and everyone asks looking for the easiest way to strike it rich, which often means taking it from someone else. By the time the sun sets, your body feels like it's been chewed up and spit out. You stagger back to camp, eat your beans, and collapse onto your damp blanket, hoping tomorrow will be different. Spoiler alert, it won't. Out here, the gold owns you more than you own the gold. Your camp is a parade of personalities, and by personalities, I mean walking cautionary tales. Everyone here's got a nickname, either earned through some legendary exploit or handed out as a cruel joke that stuck. You've got Big Elmer, a guy built like a barn who claims he struck gold twice, but somehow never has a single nugget to show for it. His main occupation seems to be borrowing tools he never returns. Then there's Lucky Molly, who runs a saloon that's just 4 walls, a plank bar, and whiskey so watered down it tastes like bad decisions. She'll tell you with a straight face that a gold strike is just up the next creek. But the only thing up that creek is a graveyard of people who believed her. Your neighbors range from desperate farmers who sold everything to be here, to sailors who jumped ship the second they heard the word gold. Some are gamblers in both the card sense and the life or death sense. Others are flat-out crooks, men who've realized it's easier to rob a miner than to be one. These claim jumpers lurk like vultures, waiting until you've done all the digging before stepping in to negotiate at gunpoint. You learn to keep your mouth shut about any success because the moment you brag, someone's already planning how to take it from you. The social scene is just as wild. Nights at camp mean crude music from a battered fiddle, raucous laughter, and occasional fistfights that start over a spilled drink and end with someone missing a tooth. Conversations swing from boasting about imaginary gold finds to swapping survival tips, like which part of a rattlesnake tastes least awful. And no matter who you talk to, there is always that glazed look in their eyes, the one that says they were not here for friendship. They're here for gold, and if you're in the way, you're just another obstacle. Deals happen constantly. Some men sell their last pair of boots for a pickaxe, others trade food for information that may or may not be real. It's like a flea market run by people who haven't slept in a week. And everyone's got a hustle. The guy across the fire from you might spend the day mining, but by night he's selling miracle gold-finding powders that are just crushed-up rocks. There's no law strong enough to stop it. Half the lawmen here came to get rich themselves, and the other half are too busy drinking. If you want to survive, you learn fast who you can trust. The answer, almost no one. Friendships are temporary, alliances are shaky, and the person sharing their bread with you today might be cutting your tent ropes tomorrow. Still, in between the schemes and the scams, there's a strange camaraderie, like you're all stuck in the same fever dream. You're rivals, but you're also the only ones who understand exactly how miserable and addictive this life really is. Night falls fast out here. like someone pulled a heavy, dusty curtain across the sky. The last sliver of sun dips behind the mountains, and suddenly, your world shrinks to the small halo of firelight flickering in camp. Everything beyond that glow turns into a shadow you can't trust. The air cools quickly, carrying the scent of smoke, sweat, and unwashed bodies. The laughter from earlier fades into low murmurs, boots crunching on dirt, and the occasional metallic clink of someone quietly checking their revolver. This is when the real danger wakes up. Daylight might be about digging and panning, but nighttime? That's when greed puts on a mask and picks up a knife. You hear a commotion a few tents over, raised voices, a sharp curse, then the unmistakable sound of a punch landing. It could be a drunken fight over cards, or it could be someone defending their stash of gold. Out here, those two situations are basically the same thing. You double-check your own gold, the pitiful little pouch you've hidden in a tin under your bedroll. You tell yourself no one knows about it, but you've seen the way people's eyes linger a second too long. There are men here who can smell gold like a predator smells blood. That's why you sleep with your pickaxe within arm's reach, even though you know it wouldn't save you from someone who has already made up their mind. The sounds carry differently at night. Somewhere in the distance, a gunshot cracks the quiet, followed by shouting that drifts away into nothing. Could be a robbery, could be a warning shot, could be someone just letting off steam in the worst possible way. You pull your blanket tighter around you, trying not to think about how thin the fabric walls of your tent really are. One good slash, and anyone could be standing over you. Even the weather turns into an enemy after dark. The temperature drops so low your breath comes out in white clouds, and your fingers ache as you try to keep warm. Sometimes, storms sweep in without warning. Gusts of wind tearing through camp, lanterns toppling, tents collapsing like paper. Flash floods roar down from the hills, washing away gear, gold, and anyone unlucky enough to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then there's the wildlife. Coyotes circle the outskirts of camp, their howls slicing through the dark, while bears occasionally wander in, drawn by the smell of leftover food or leftover people. You remember the story of One-Eyed Charlie, who woke up to find a bear trying to drag him out of his tent. No one knows if he lost the eye to the bear or to the whiskey afterward. By the time the embers of the fire fade, you're lying there, eyes open, every little sound amplified. The flap of canvas, the snap of a twig, the slow, steady footsteps of someone moving just outside your tent. You hold your breath and wait, hoping it's nothing. Out here, nothing is the best you can wish for. When you look back on it, the gold rush wasn't just a scramble for shiny metal, it was a complete rewiring of America. Before 1849, California was a remote place barely connected to the rest of the country, a land most people knew from vague maps and tall tales. Then someone found gold in a riverbed, and the news spread like wildfire through a hay barn. Suddenly, the world was here. Ships from China, Peru, and Australia crowded San Francisco Bay, their crews ditching their posts to join the frenzy. Wagons and caravans crawled overland from the east, bringing farmers, merchants, and opportunists. Some came for adventure, most came for greed. The result? A population boom so wild it made city planners cry. Towns popped up overnight, slapped together from whatever wood, cloth, or scrap could be found. San Francisco itself ballooned from a sleepy settlement to a chaotic, mud-splattered boomtown where fortunes changed in the space of an afternoon. That kind of growth came at a price. Native American communities, already reeling from disease and displacement, were pushed off their lands with violence and legal trickery. Streams were poisoned with runoff from mining, forests stripped bare for timber, hills gutted for the gold buried inside them. The gold rush didn't just change the land, it scarred it. For some, this era was the ultimate rags-to-riches dream. A lucky few struck it big, pulling nuggets the size of fists from the earth. They built mansions, opened banks, and became legends. But for every success story, there were thousands of failures. Most miners found just enough gold to keep them from leaving, like gamblers chasing that one big win. They endured back-breaking labor, disease, and the constant threat of violence, all for a payday that often never came. Still, the gold rush planted seeds that would shape the country. It pulled California into the Union, accelerated the building of railroads, and opened trade routes across the Pacific. It also rewrote the American myth. The idea that anyone from anywhere could risk it all and win big became part of the national identity. Never mind that, in reality, the game was rigged for most people. And here's the thing. Human nature hasn't changed. We still chase our gold rushes, just in different forms. Maybe it's tech startups instead of riverbeds, cryptocurrency instead of gold dust. The tools have changed, but the hunger is the same. To get rich fast, to outrun the grind, to gamble with everything you have for a chance at something better. And just like then, for every person who makes it, there's a crowd left behind wondering where it all went wrong. As you lie in your tent on your last night here, listening to the river that's stolen more dreams than it's given, you can't help thinking, was it worth it? For the land? For the people? For you? Somewhere out there, a stranger is digging in the dark, chasing the same glimmer you chased. Maybe they'll find it. Maybe they won't. So, would you make it out alive? Or would the gold own you too?